So, Becca, would you, for our audience, tell me a little bit about yourself and why you kind of thought it was interesting when we started like chatting? You're like, oh, this kind of transfers, this kind of crosses over to what I do.
Okay, a little bit about myself. I am a spiritual mentor, Reiki Master, a multidimensional healer. I like to just go through all the realms of existence and kind of understand the world in a more magical way, let's say. And in doing so, I like to bring more joy and fulfillment into my life and everyone else who I meet. And in doing that and getting myself into a state of these, I guess, these higher emotional states in which actually Liz talks so much about, I have brought forward so many incredible connections into my life, and not just connections, but better health, better opportunities, um, and just a new kind of perspective on life. And in that stage of my existence, I met this beautiful woman, Liz, and we dove deep into the conversation around gratitude and the emotional state that it brings forward in your physical body, and how when you can access that state, it transforms your life. And that's the exact state that I try to live in and am committed to and devoted to living in, and in which I kind of bring forward, or sorry, bring many of my clients and anyone who is in my inner circle into that realm of existence. And with Liz, how it translates is she puts a language to it in a way that is digestible to the regular human being. She is able to, yeah, we're all connected kind of to that same source. And the way in which she articulates this message is not just articulated, but expressed in a way that we can utilize it in our training, physically, emotionally, and intellectually. That's my
Nice.
2 cents
Love it.
there.
That's pretty great 2 cents. I love it. My next question was, you've kind of, so my question, so I often grade this towards athletes, but I love to say like holistic high performance. Holistic, people realize this, they think this term is woo-woo, but it's not. The concept of holistic is understanding something from many angles.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because I've dove into the spiritual stuff, but I don't like to start there with everybody. But obviously I could start there with you, which was pretty cool. And what I noticed with you in your physical performance was that all this stuff feeds back on each other. And when we started understanding how to bring back the physicality into your really athleticism, which is kind of funny, like athleticism and Reiki are two things people piece together.
Yeah.
How did you notice what was something that you noticed in us hanging out that you were able to tap into your physicality more and realize you had more power and control in your body, even though you're not necessarily an athlete, but it very obviously improved your Reiki, which is cool. And I remember noticing at the beach and seeing your hands move so differently with so much control, for example.
There's two instances that stand out for me. And the first one was when we were at the beach and we were talking about body church, which is one of the movement methodologies that you have kind of birthed. Um, and I found in connecting with the spine and the way you showed me how to connect each portion of our body into like one column. And I do that spiritually and energetically, but to be able to do it physically just landed the whole experience, but also brought so much more control and true alignment into my physical body. So I talk a lot about being aligned spiritually and connected with our mind, body, soul. And what you did was, yeah, kind of show and teach how to bring the physical body, the bones, the muscles, the ligaments into connection with one another. And in turn, allowing for a greater flow of energy to move through. Because if we're disconnected, and you said this, you're like, for backstory context, I had a concussion and an injury. So I have ribs that often come out, and my spine is kind of slightly out of alignment sometimes. So, or the spine and the neck connector is. And Liz showed me in doing these movements and connecting the entirety of the spine to the neck and through these movements and the hands and the legs, that the energy then flowed so much more strongly and effortlessly. And I started feeling like the sense of grace within my body. And it just yeah, that's the holistic high performance right there, because we could be functioning at a baseline of what we think is good and it's sustainable, it's still working, it's still doing the trick. But then when we're at that elevated state, life just feels so much better. Your body feels so much better, and you can see the potential that actually exists within your body. Another example is the fingertips. You were like, you're a Reiki master. What do you do with your fingertips? Like, why are you not training them? Why are you not exercising them? And I was like,
Yeah,
well,
because you move energy with your hands, and it was like, yeah, you're like wigging them around. And I was like, I feel like there should be more control here, more nuance, more waving.
yeah, because I use my body a lot, but I don't necessarily connect my fingertips to the movements. And as soon as she showed me that technique, I was like, oh wow, okay. There's just so much more strength in that, and everything then feels connected. You're not disjointed, because if one part of your body is limp, that you're not connected to it. There's no awareness in it. So that was a really powerful kind of perspective shift as well.
Nice. Perfect. Lovely. Were there any other like aha moments that you had that really helped you tap into coming to terms with anything psychologically or emotionally?
The gift piece, specifically around injury. Anytime you're injured, you have the option to go down a spiral of self-pity, of victim consciousness, of feeling defeated. And it's okay to let those arise. But then it's like, are you going to choose that? Or are you going to start looking at, okay, why did this happen? What is the lesson that I'm being gifted by the universe through this injury? And oftentimes, for example, with the concussion for me, was I was gifted so much time to go into my body, to heal, to connect to source, to connect to all of the trauma that I'd been holding on to in my body, to remember my spiritual gifts, to awaken fully to my potential. And never would have been gifted that opportunity had that concussion not come forward to me. And I could have sat in that bed just being miserable. And there were moments, but I chose to see the gift. And I think to have that mirrored with Liz as well, like she speaks a lot about this in her work and on socials. When she does have injuries, she always looks for the lesson and gets excited about the outcome of once she's healed, because she knows that with every injury comes an elevated state of consciousness and a new awareness of self and what the body is capable of, and a new mental level has been accomplished or reached.
Man, I really hope this recorder is definitely on point because that was excellent. Thank you. Crushed. Okay, perfect. So I only have one more question for you. If you could tell someone who is thinking about taking my courses or working one-on-one with me, what would you tell them?
Well, I wrote a little note, so let me just read that to you first.
Okay, that's so sweet. Thank you.
So I said that knowing this woman will change your life. Her perspective on life, on emotional training, on mastering self, and understanding the body, mind, and soul connection will translate into every aspect of your life. You will begin to see life through a new lens and in a way that your mind and body can understand. So, what I mean by that, Liz offers, yeah, a new lens of looking at life. And she's a 3-time Olympian. She has mastered her body, she has mastered her mind. And she's constantly looking for new ways to understand in the most efficient way how to live an empowered, holistically strong, healthy, I don't know what I cut that out.
Yeah, it's a
Holistic.
it's a holistic performance perspective. It's like
Yeah.
I'm trying to get there efficiently. Like life is supposed to be
Yeah.
enjoyed. It should not take everything within your being
Yeah.
to do something well. It's about figuring out that thing that like makes everything else easier. Like I want to make
Yeah.
life easier for people. I don't want to give them 80 more things.
Yes, it that's exactly it. It's like you take the confusion out of it all. You provide a template, perspective, a shift in your conscious awareness, and tangible tools to live a life that is easeful and with grace. You teach grace.
Yeah. And I love grace is like gratitude, right? Where it's like no one knows the definition. And I love that definition of grace, where it is the perfect balance of precision and power,
Mm.
where you're using the right amount of power for the task at hand that requires a certain amount of precision. You don't need to do more. It's like trying to hit a tennis ball into a tennis court, right? Like you can hit it really, really hard, but like you better make sure that angle is perfect because if it's a little off, you're going to hit it outside and then the grace is lost. And
True.
it's all about not necessarily working harder, but working precisely and adding the exact correct amount of power to it.
Mm, 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 mm. That right there.
That right there.
That right there.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to end the Zoom call and I'll chat with you in another minute. Let's make sure that I do this properly.